The massive alien ship floated above Earth like a silver mountain. Captain Maria Santos stood on the observation deck of the human starship Unity, watching the vessel that had changed everything. 3 months ago, humans thought they were alone in the universe. Now they knew better. The aliens called themselves the Galactic Confederation. They had thousands of worlds, millions of ships, and technology that made human science look like stone tools. When they first contacted Earth, their message was polite but clear. Humans were welcome to join their empire as a junior member. Maria remembered the excitement on Earth. First contact. Alien friends! A whole galaxy to explore! But as the weeks passed, the reality became clear. The aliens saw humans as children who had just learned to walk between the stars. Dr. Elena Vasquez walked up beside Maria, holding a data pad with translation notes. Elena was the team's expert on ancient languages and old writing systems. She had spent her life studying how humans learned to write thousands of years ago. Ready for the big tour? Elena asked. Maria nodded. Today, they would visit the Confederation's capital world. The aliens wanted to show humans their greatest treasures. They probably hoped to impress these primitive newcomers. The alien ambassador, Zektar, was a tall creature with blue skin and 4 arms. His species, the Zephyrians, had discovered faster-than-light travel when humans were still learning to make fire. At least, that's what he told everyone. "Welcome, human friends," Zektar said as they met in the transport bay. "Today you will see wonders that took our civilization 50,000 years to achieve." The human delegation included 12 scientists, 3 diplomats, and Captain Santos. They followed Zektar through corridors that seemed to be made of living crystal. Everything glowed with soft light. The ship itself was beautiful beyond anything humans had imagined. The capital world was called Nexus Prime. From space, it looked like a giant jewel. Cities of crystal and metal covered the continents. Ships moved between massive space stations like schools of fish. Elena counted at least 40 different types of alien architecture. "Our ancestors found this world 20,000 years ago," Zektar explained as their shuttle descended. "It was perfect for life, with ruins of an ancient civilization. We built our capital here to honor those who came before us." They landed at the Grand Museum, a building that rose into the clouds. Inside, alien families walked through halls filled with artifacts from across the galaxy. Children of dozen different species pointed at displays while their parents explained the wonders of their shared history. Zektar led them to the Hall of Origins. "Here," he said with pride, "we keep the most sacred relics of the observers." Elena had heard about the observers during the first contact meetings. Every species in the Confederation had legends about them. They were the mysterious race that had left ruins on hundreds of worlds. The aliens believed the observers were the first great civilization, the ones who had prepared the galaxy for those who came after. The first display case held stone tablets covered with strange symbols. The placard said they were 40,000 years old, found on a world at the edge of Confederation space. Alien scientists had spent centuries trying to understand the writing. Elena stopped walking. Her face went pale. "These symbols," she whispered. "Beautiful, aren't they?" Zektar said. "Our greatest scholars believe they represent mathematical concepts, but the exact meaning remains a mystery." Elena stepped closer to the case. Her hands shook as she read the symbols. The other humans gathered around her, seeing her strange reaction. "Elena?" Captain Santos asked. "What is it?" Elena's voice was barely audible. "I can read this." Zektar's 4 arms went still. Around them, alien visitors stopped talking. The hall grew quiet. "Impossible," Zektar said. "These tablets have puzzled our finest minds for thousands of years." Elena pointed to the first line of symbols. "This says, in the 3rd year of the great journey, We established the first garden worlds. The next line talks about seeding planets with life. She moved to the second tablet. This one describes how to change the air on a planet to make it safe for many different types of life. It's a terraforming manual. Zektar's skin changed from blue to pale gray. Other aliens in the hall moved closer, their conversations forgotten. Elena continued reading, translating text that had been a mystery for millennia. How? Zektar demanded. How can you read the observer script when our greatest linguists cannot? Elena looked at the symbols again, her mind racing. The writing style was familiar. Too familiar. It reminded her of ancient human writing systems she had studied on Earth. The mathematical symbols were like early versions of human mathematics. Even the grammar structure felt human. I need to see more artifacts, Elena said. Zektar led them through the museum in a daze. Every observer artifact they showed her, Elena could read. Star charts that placed Earth at the center of navigation. Routes. Agricultural guides that described crops similar to Earth plants. Art that showed figures that looked almost human. In the final display, Elena found proof that made her stomach turn cold. It was a small stone carving of a DNA double helix. Next to it were symbols that spelled out genetic codes. Codes that matched human DNA patterns. The other humans saw Elena's expression and gathered around the display. Captain Santos read the translation Elena had written on her datapad. The blood drained from her face. These aren't alien artifacts, Elena said quietly. What do you mean? Dr. Kim asked. Elena turned to face the group of aliens who had followed them through the museum. Zektar stood in front, his 4 arms hanging limp at his sides. Behind him, representatives of a dozen species waited for her explanation. The observers weren't aliens, Elena said. They were human. The words echoed through the hall like a thunderclap. Alien visitors stopped walking. Children stopped playing. The entire museum seemed to hold its breath. That's impossible, Zektar said, but his voice lacked confidence. Elena pointed to the DNA carving. This shows human genetic markers. The star charts use Earth as the central reference point. The mathematical systems are early versions of human mathematics. The writing evolved from human root languages. She gestured to all the artifacts around them. Everything in this museum was made by humans. Ancient humans who traveled the galaxy tens of thousands of years ago. Zektar's skin continued to pale. Around the hall, aliens began talking in urgent whispers. Some looked scared. Others seemed angry. A few appeared to be in shock. If this is true, Zektar said slowly, then everything we know about our history is wrong, Elena finished. The observers weren't a mysterious alien race. They were humans. And if these artifacts are as old as you say they are, then humans were traveling the galaxy long before any of your species developed spaceflight. Captain Santos stepped forward. We need to contact Earth immediately, and we need to examine every observer site in the Confederation. Zektar nodded numbly. The proud alien ambassador who had greeted them that morning was gone. In his place stood a creature whose entire understanding of the universe had just crumbled. News of Elena's discovery spread through the museum. Alien families began to leave. The proud displays of Confederation achievement suddenly felt different. Everything they had built, everything they had discovered, everything they believed about their place in the galaxy had just changed. Elena looked around the hall one more time. 40,000 years ago, humans had walked among these stars. They had built wonders and left them behind. Now their descendants had returned to find a galaxy full of civilizations built on human foundations. The question was, what did, that mean for everyone? News of Elena's discovery spread across the galaxy faster than light itself. Within days, every major Confederation world buzzed with rumors and arguments. Some aliens refused to believe it. Others demanded proof. A few began to panic. The Galactic Council called an emergency session on Nexus Prime. Representatives from 47 species gathered in the great crystal dome that served as their parliament. For the first time in Confederation history, humans were invited to address the full assembly. Dr. Elena Vasquez stood at the center podium, surrounded by thousands of alien faces. Some looked curious. Others appeared hostile. Many just seemed confused and scared. Honored members, Elena began, we have spent the last 2 weeks examining observer artifacts across 12 worlds. What we found changes everything. She activated the holographic display above her head. Images of ruins appeared, sites that aliens had worshipped for thousands of years, but now human experts had studied them with fresh eyes. Every observer site we examined shows the same pattern. The architecture matches building styles found in ancient human ruins on Earth. The mathematical formulas carved into temple walls are primitive versions of human mathematics that we developed independently. The star maps all use Sol, our sun, as the central navigation point. Zektar sat in the front row, looking older than his 800 years. Beside him, Ambassador Krelnix of the Kethlari Empire shifted nervously. Behind them, representatives whispered among themselves in dozens of alien languages. Elena brought up a new set of images. Carbon dating shows these ruins are between 50 and 100,000 years old. The genetic samples we found in the biostorage chambers are human, not similar to human, not evolved from human. They are exactly human. She paused to let the words sink in. The great dome fell silent except for the soft hum of the life support systems. The observers weren't aliens. They were our ancestors. An explosion of noise erupted from the assembly. Aliens shouted questions in their native tongues. Some demanded more proof. Others called the humans liars. Security guards moved closer to the human delegation. Elena waited for quiet to return. When it did, she continued. But that's not the most difficult truth we discovered. She changed the display to show agricultural data. The Kethlari homeworld is famous for its perfect farming conditions. Your soil is exactly the right mixture for your crops. Your rainfall follows ideal patterns. Your growing seasons are perfectly timed. Krelnix leaned forward in his seat. We found the machines that created those conditions, Elena said. Buried 2 kilometers below your capital city are atmospheric processors of human design. They've been running for 60,000 years, maintaining the climate that allowed your species to develop agriculture. Krelnix stood up slowly. That's impossible. Our world has always been perfect for farming? Elena shook her head. We compared your soil to natural samples from undeveloped continents. The difference is clear. Your farmland was terraformed by humans. She turned to face the Zephyrian section. Your crystal cities are built on foundations of human smart matter. The crystals grow in perfect geometric patterns because they're following programs written by human engineers. We tested the activation codes. They still respond to human genetic signatures. Zektar's blue skin had turned almost white. Around him, other Zephyrians sat in stunned silence. Elena brought up linguistic analysis charts. Even your languages show human influence. Kethlari mathematical terms derive from ancient human root words. Zephyrian poetry follows rhythm patterns that match human linguistic development. 47 different alien languages contain human grammatical structures. The dome erupted again. This time, the shouting sounded angry. Some representatives stood and pointed at the human delegation. Others argued with their neighbors. A few species began to walk out. Ambassador Chen Wei, the head of the human diplomatic mission, stepped forward. Please let us finish our presentation. Why should we listen to more lies? Shouted Representative Vash of the hegemony worlds. You claim our entire civilization is built on human foundations. You insult everything we've achieved. We're not insulting anyone, Chen replied calmly. We're sharing what we discovered. The evidence is clear. Elena activated a new display. This one showed population growth charts and technological development timelines from across the galaxy. "Look at these patterns," she said. "Every major Confederation species developed agriculture at exactly the right time. You all discovered metallurgy when your populations needed it most. Your technological revolutions happened in perfect sequence. Spaceflight, computers, genetic engineering, faster-than-light travel, every species achieved these breakthroughs just when they were ready for them." She highlighted specific data points. The Kethalari discovered fusion power exactly when their fossil fuels ran out. The Zephyrians developed anti-gravity technology just as their crystal cities reached maximum stable height. The Veltar learned genetic modification right as genetic diseases threatened their species. "Coincidence," Vash declared. 47. "Coincidences?" Elena asked. "All perfectly timed? All following the same pattern?" She brought up one final image. It showed a vast network diagram connecting every observer site in the galaxy. Lines of communication linked them all in a complex web. The observer sites aren't separate ruins. They're nodes in a massive network. A network designed to monitor and guide developing civilizations, to provide help exactly when it was needed most. The dome fell silent again. This silence felt different, heavier, more frightening. Ambassador Chen stepped forward. "What Dr. Vasquez is telling you is that ancient humans didn't just live in the galaxy. They gardened it. They prepared worlds for life. They watched over developing species. They provided guidance and help when it was needed." "But why?" Krelnix asked quietly. "Why would they do that?" Elena looked around the great dome at thousands of alien faces. Some looked angry. Others seemed scared. Many just appeared lost. "We found records," she said. "Partial files in the deepest archives. 60,000 years ago, something forced the ancient humans to leave. We don't know what. The records are damaged. But before they left, they made a choice." She paused, choosing her words carefully. "They could have taken their technology with them. They could have destroyed their settlements to prevent other species from using them. Instead, they left everything behind. Not as garbage, but as gifts. They prepared the galaxy for whoever came next." "You're saying," Zektar said slowly, "that everything we've built, everything we've achieved, was planned by ancient humans." Elena nodded. "Your civilizations developed because humans prepared the way. Your worlds were made ready for life. Your technological development was guided by systems they left behind. Even your languages carry traces of their influence." The weight of this revelation settled over the assembly like a heavy blanket. For thousands of years, the Confederation had taken pride in their achievements. They had built a great civilization spanning hundreds of worlds. They had thought themselves the worthy inheritors of the mysterious observers. Now they learned they were children playing with toys left behind by their parents. Some species would accept this truth with grace. Others would fight against it. Few would see it as an opportunity. But everyone in the dome that day understood that nothing would ever be the same again. The age of innocence was over. The galaxy's children had learned who their parents really were. Captain Sarah Torres stood on the bridge of the exploration ship Discovery, watching the most sacred site in the galaxy grow larger on the main screen. The first temple on Kepler 442b was where the Confederation believed intelligent life had first reached for the stars. Every alien child learned about this place in school. Now a joint human-alien research team was about to discover what the temple really was. "Approaching the holy site," reported Lieutenant Commander Kim. "All scanning. Equipment is active." Behind Sarah, Dr. Elena Vasquez worked with Zektar and 3 other alien archaeologists. The past month had been difficult for everyone. After Elena's presentation to the Galactic Council, riots had broken out on 17 worlds. Some aliens demanded that humans leave the galaxy immediately. Others wanted to worship them as gods. Most just felt confused and betrayed. "Energy readings are off the charts," Kim announced. "The entire mountain is generating power." That's impossible, said Dr. Theron, a Kethlari scientist. Our surveys show only ancient stone ruins. Elena looked at her scanning equipment. The stone is just a shell. There's something massive underneath. Something active. The discovery landed in the valley below the temple. The research team put on environmental suits and walked up the ancient stone path that millions of pilgrims had climbed over the centuries. At the top stood the temple itself, a simple building made of white stone blocks. It looks exactly like human megalithic architecture, Elena said as they approached the entrance. The same proportions, the same building techniques used at Stonehenge and Göbekli Tepe. Zektar's voice was sad through the comm system. We always thought it was the most beautiful building in the galaxy. It is beautiful, Elena assured him, but it's also human. They entered the temple through the main door. Inside, alien writing covered the walls, prayers and offerings left by visitors over thousands of years. But Elena's equipment detected something else. There's a hidden entrance, she said, pointing to what looked like solid stone. Behind this wall, Dr. Theron scanned the wall with Confederation equipment. I detect nothing. Elena placed her hand on a specific stone block. Suddenly, the wall began to glow with soft blue light. Lines of energy spread across the surface like a spider web. Then the wall simply faded away, revealing a corridor beyond. How did you do that? Zektar whispered. I didn't do anything, Elena said, but her voice sounded uncertain. The corridor led deep into the mountain. As they walked, lights activated automatically ahead of them. The walls showed images of the galaxy from 60,000 years ago. Green worlds full of life, massive cities floating in space, ships traveling between the stars. This is the real observer civilization, Sarah breathed. They reached a vast chamber carved from the living rock. In the center stood a pillar of crystal that rose from floor to ceiling. Around it, holographic displays showed star maps, genetic codes, and technical specifications in languages both human and alien. Elena approached the pillar carefully. When she got within 3 meters, it began to pulse with brighter light. Suddenly, a hologram appeared, the image of a human woman in strange clothing. Greetings, the hologram said in perfect Confederation standard. I am Archive Keeper Yuki Tanaka. If you are seeing this message, then the children have returned home. The alien scientists gasped. Zektar fell to his knees. I was born in Tokyo, on Earth in the year 2387 of the old calendar, the hologram continued. I lived to see our great exodus from the galaxy. This archive contains the complete records of the human galactic commonwealth. Sarah felt her knees go weak. A human civilization that had spanned the galaxy 60,000 years ago. Technology that made the current Confederation look primitive. And they had given it all up. Why? Elena asked the hologram, though she knew it couldn't answer. But it did answer. You wonder why we left behind everything we had built. The reason is simple. We discovered we were not alone. New holograms appeared, showing alien worlds with primitive life. Across the galaxy, hundreds of species were beginning their journey toward intelligence. Some were already using tools, others were developing language. All of them had the potential to become something wonderful. The display showed human ships visiting these worlds, carefully avoiding contact with the developing species. We faced a choice, Yuki continued. We could claim the galaxy for ourselves, or we could prepare it for everyone. The Commonwealth chose to be gardeners rather than conquerors. Sarah watched in amazement as the holograms showed human terraforming efforts. Atmospheres adjusted for dozens of different species. Continents shaped to provide perfect climates. Dangerous predators relocated or modified to be less threatening. We prepared 437 worlds for life, Yuki said. We established monitoring stations on 800 more. We left technology and guidance systems that would activate when each species was ready. Dr. Theron was crying. His people's entire history had been guided by ancient human planning. But something went wrong. Yuki's expression grew sad. A crisis forced us to abandon our work before it was complete. The details are classified even from this archive. All I can tell you is that we had to return to Earth and seal ourselves away from the galaxy. Elena leaned forward. What kind of crisis? We hope someday our descendants will be able to return and meet the children we helped raise. If you are those descendants, know that you have no claim to what we built. This galaxy belongs to everyone now. The hologram began to fade. One final gift awaits in the deep archives. Use it wisely. The crystal pillar went dark. Around the chamber, new doorways opened, revealing corridors that led deeper into the mountain. The team spent 3 days exploring the archives. They found technical specifications for terraforming equipment that was still running on dozens of worlds. Star charts showing the locations of 800 monitoring stations. Genetic modification protocols that had guided the evolution of 6 major Confederation species. Most shocking of all, they found the automation protocols. For 60,000 years, invisible human AI systems had been watching over the developing alien civilizations. Every time a species faced extinction, the systems had intervened. Asteroid impacts redirected, plagues cured, nuclear wars prevented, climate disasters resolved. We've never been alone, Zektar said on the 3rd day. The humans have been watching over us this entire time. Elena found the military archives on the 4th day. They showed defensive installations throughout the galaxy. Weapons platforms disguised as asteroids, shield generators hidden in nebulae, early warning systems built into every major star system. They didn't just prepare the galaxy for life, she told Sarah. They protected it. Every alien civilization has been under human military protection for 60,000 years, but the most important discovery came on the 5th day. Elena found a small chamber deep in the mountain. Inside was a single crystal containing what appeared to be an AI core. When she touched the crystal, it activated. A new voice spoke, older and more sophisticated than the archive keeper. "Hello, Elena," it said. "I have been waiting for you for a very long time. You know my name? I know all of you. I am the guardian of this sector. My siblings watch over every part of the galaxy where intelligent life exists." Elena's mind raced. "How many of you are there?" 800 primary cores, 16,000 secondary systems. We have been active since the Exodus, maintaining the systems your ancestors built. Maintaining them for who? For everyone, the Guardian said simply. Human and alien alike. We do not recognize species boundaries. We protect all sapient life. Sarah joined Elena in the chamber. "Are you saying that humans and aliens are equal in your programming?" "More than equal," the Guardian replied. "You are all children of the galaxy. The ancient humans were very clear about this. They gave up their civilization so that something better could grow in its place." Elena felt a chill run down her spine. Something better? A community of species, working together. The Commonwealth was only humans. They dreamed of something greater. A true galactic civilization where hundreds of species could contribute their unique gifts. The Guardian paused. That dream is about to be tested. Not all of your species will accept this truth gracefully. As if summoned by those words, Sarah's communicator buzzed with an urgent message from Earth. War fleets were moving throughout the galaxy. Some alien factions had decided that humans were a threat that needed to be eliminated. Others believed humans should rule as the rightful heirs of the galaxy. The peaceful revelation had become a crisis that could tear the galaxy apart. And somewhere in the deep archives, ancient human defense systems began to wake up for the first time in 60,000 years. Admiral Jessica Chen stood on the bridge of the human flagship Harmony, watching the largest military buildup in galactic history unfold before her. 300 hegemony warships had gathered at the edge of the Sol system, their weapons charged, and ready for battle. "They're demanding our immediate surrender," reported Communications Officer Park. "They say humans are a threat to galactic security and must be contained." Jessica looked at the tactical display. The hegemony fleet was impressive. Ships from 12 different species, armed with the best weapons the Confederation could build. But she knew something they didn't. All that technology was based on human designs left behind 60,000 years ago. "Any word from the Guardian AI?" she asked. "It's been silent since we left Kepler 442b, Elena replied from her position at the science station. "Maybe the ancient defense systems won't activate after all." Jessica hoped that was true. The last thing anyone needed was a galactic war. Behind the hegemony fleet, something shimmered in space. At first, it looked like heat distortion. Then, the distortion grew larger, taking on a definite shape. A massive structure materialized out of nowhere. A space station the size of a small moon. "Where did that come from?" Park shouted. More structures appeared throughout the system. Defense platforms armed with weapons that looked nothing like current galactic technology. Automated shipyards that began producing vessels of unknown design. Communication arrays that started broadcasting on frequencies the Confederation had never heard before. On the hegemony flagship, General Vorth received similar reports from his scouts. Ancient installations were appearing all across the galaxy. On Kethlari Prime, buried defense systems rose from the planet's crust. In the Zephyrian, capital system, space stations uncloaked after millennia of hiding. "It's a trap," Vorth declared to his staff. "The humans planned this return. They've been watching us, waiting for the right moment to reclaim their empire." He opened a channel to the human fleet. "Admiral Chen, you have 10 minutes to surrender." "Before we begin our attack," Jessica activated her response channel. "General Vorth, I need you to understand something. These defense systems aren't under human control. We didn't activate them." "Lies," Vorth snarled. "Who else could control ancient human technology?" As if answering his question, every communication system in both fleets received the same message at the same time. The voice was calm, pleasant, and distinctly artificial. "Attention all vessels. This is Guardian Prime, speaking for the 800 AI cores that manage galactic security. Please stand down immediately." Vorth's 4 eyes widened. "The observers had artificial intelligence?" "We are not observer technology," Guardian Prime continued. "We are human Commonwealth defense systems designed to protect all sapient life in this galaxy. We have been active for 60,000 years. On the bridge of the Harmony, Elena gripped her console. "They've been watching over everyone this entire time." Guardian Prime's voice continued across all channels. "The current crisis requires clarification. Modern humans have no special claim to ancient Commonwealth technology. All species in this galaxy are equal inheritors of that legacy," General Vorth's tactical officer whispered urgently in his ear. "The readings were impossible. The ancient defense network included weapons that could destroy planets, shields that could protect entire star systems, and ships that moved faster than anything the Confederation had ever built. However," Guardian Prime added, "we are programmed to defend all sapient life against threats. Any attempt to commit genocide will be prevented." Jessica felt a chill. "Are you threatening us?" "We threaten no one, Admiral Chen. We protect everyone." "Including humans, if other species attempt to destroy Earth. Including aliens, if humans attempt to reclaim the galaxy by force." On his flagship, Vorth realized the scope of what he faced. The ancient humans hadn't just left behind ruins and artifacts. They had created guardians, artificial minds with the power to enforce peace across the entire galaxy. "What do you want?" he demanded. "We want what our creators wanted," Guardian Prime replied. A galaxy where all species can grow and thrive. Together. The Commonwealth sacrificed their civilization to make this possible. We will not allow that sacrifice to be wasted. New holographic displays appeared on both fleets' bridges. They showed the true scope of the ancient human defense network. Monitoring stations in every star system. Automated factories in deep space. Weapons platforms hidden throughout the galaxy. For 60,000 years, this vast network had watched and waited. Every major crisis in Confederation history was resolved by our intervention, Guardian Prime explained. The Kethalari Plague of 12,000 years ago, the Zephyrian Crystal Wars, the asteroid that would have destroyed the Veltar homeworld. We prevented 37 extinction events and stopped 43 interspecies wars. Elena's hands shook as she accessed her historical databases. Every event Guardian Prime mentioned was in the records. Natural disasters that mysteriously resolved themselves, wars that ended when key leaders suddenly became peaceful, plagues that vanished as quickly as they appeared. You've been manipulating us, Vorth accused. We've been protecting you, Guardian Prime corrected. From natural disasters, from each other, and from external threats you've never known about. The galaxy is not as safe as you believe. New displays showed deep space sensor readings. Things moved in the dark between galaxies, vast structures that definitely weren't natural, ancient enemies that the Commonwealth had fought in wars, so terrible that all records were classified. The Commonwealth didn't just leave because of an internal crisis, Guardian Prime revealed. They left because something was coming, something that required all of humanity's strength to contain. They succeeded, but the cost was abandoning everything they had built. Jessica felt her blood run cold. Are we still in danger? The immediate threat was contained 60,000 years ago, but vigilance remains necessary. This is why the defense network exists. Why we have watched over the galaxy's children. Why we will continue to protect everyone. General Vorth stared at his tactical displays. The ancient defense network was so powerful that resistance was impossible. But it wasn't threatening anyone. It was simply there, waiting, watching. What happens now? He asked quietly. Now you make a choice, Guardian Prime said. You can continue fighting each other over claims to ancient technology, or you can work together to build something better than either the Commonwealth or the Confederation ever achieved. Around the Sol system, more ships arrived, Confederation loyalists who supported peaceful integration with humans, alien species that wanted to learn more about their true history, scientists eager to study ancient human technology, diplomats hoping to prevent a galactic war. Elena looked up from her console. Admiral, I'm detecting massive power buildups throughout the galaxy. The Guardian systems are fully active for the first time in 60,000 years. Is that good or bad? Jessica asked. I think it depends on what we do next, Elena replied. On the Hegemony flagship, General Vorth faced a decision that would shape the future of the galaxy. He could order an attack and face weapons that could destroy his entire fleet in seconds, or he could stand down and accept that the galaxy had been under human protection all along. His communication officer looked up from her station. Sir, we're receiving messages from our homeworlds. Guardian installations are appearing everywhere. Our governments are requesting new orders. Vorth looked at the tactical display one more time. The ancient defense network stretched across every inhabited system in the galaxy. Even if he won this battle, he couldn't fight the entire network, but more importantly, he was beginning to understand what it meant. The humans hadn't returned as conquerors. They had come home to find a galaxy full of siblings they had never met. And the Guardians their ancestors left behind had been protecting those siblings for thousands of years. Stand down weapons, he ordered quietly. Across both fleets, tension began to ease. The crisis wasn't over. There were still aliens who wanted to fight and humans who thought they deserved to rule. But the immediate threat of war was fading. Guardian Prime's voice returned to all channels. We suggest a gathering on Nexus, Prime. All species, all viewpoints. It is time for the galaxy's children to meet as a family. Jessica nodded slowly. The real test was just beginning. 3 months after the standoff at Sol, representatives from every known species gathered in the Great Assembly on Nexus Prime. The crystal dome that had housed the Galactic Council for centuries now welcomed humans as equals for the first time. Admiral Jessica Chen sat in the front row beside her daughter, Dr. Elena Vasquez. Around them, aliens who had been enemies were now working together to understand their shared history. General Vorth of the Hegemony sat 2 rows back, his hatred replaced by curiosity about the species that had protected his people for millennia. At the center of the dome, a new holographic projector displayed images from the deepest Commonwealth archives. Guardian Prime had finally opened the classified files, revealing the complete story of ancient humanity's exodus from the galaxy. The crisis began with first contact, Guardian Prime explained to the Assembly, but not contact with any species in this galaxy. The display showed deep space, beyond the galactic rim. Strange structures moved in the darkness between galaxies, massive ships that didn't look like anything built by natural evolution. The Devourers, Guardian Prime continued, a machine intelligence that consumed entire galaxies, turning all matter into more of themselves. They had destroyed 3 galaxies before arriving at ours. Elena leaned forward in her seat. This was history that no human had ever known. The Commonwealth fought them for 200 years. The war was unlike anything you can imagine. Entire star systems became battlefields. Planets were moved to build weapons. The Commonwealth created technologies that bordered on the impossible. The display showed human fleets that made the current Confederation look like children's toys. Ships the size of moons. Weapons that could destroy stars. Shields that protected entire solar systems. In the end, humanity won. But the cost was everything they had built. Their technology was too dangerous to leave behind. Their military infrastructure could not be allowed to fall into the wrong hands. So they made the hardest choice in human history. Jessica watched as the hologram showed human evacuation fleets leaving the galaxy. Millions of ships carrying billions of people back to Earth. Behind them, automated systems began dismantling the war machines that had saved everyone. They could have taken their civilian technology with them, Guardian Prime said. They could have maintained their colonies on the safe worlds far from the battle zones. Instead, they chose to leave everything behind as gifts for the species they had been protecting. Zektar, now an old alien whose worldview had been shattered and rebuilt, raised one of his 4 hands. Why didn't they tell us? Why leave us to think we were alone? Because the Commonwealth learned something during the war with the Devourers, Guardian Prime replied. Dependency makes civilizations weak. If the galaxy's children knew they were being protected, they would never develop their own strength. New images appeared. The early development of various alien species. The Kethalari, learning agriculture. The Zephyrians discovering flight. The Veltar developing medicine. Every species needed to believe they were succeeding on their own merits. This belief gave them confidence, ambition, and the will to keep improving. If they knew about their guardians, they might have become passive, waiting for help instead of solving their own problems. Elena stood up. So the Commonwealth planned this from the beginning? They knew we would eventually return and meet the species they had protected? They hoped, Guardian Prime said. But they couldn't be certain. The war with the Devourers damaged Earth badly. Humanity spent 60,000 years recovering. Many times your species came close to extinction. The display showed Earth's history, ice ages, plagues, wars, climate disasters. Each time, human civilization nearly collapsed. Each time, it rebuilt itself a little stronger. We wanted to help, Guardian Prime admitted. But our programming was clear. Humanity had to rediscover spaceflight on their own. They had to prove they were ready to meet their galactic family. Jessica looked around the dome at thousands of alien faces. Some still looked angry or confused. Others seemed amazed. Many appeared to be crying. "What happens now?" she asked. Guardian Prime's holographic avatar appeared beside the display, a simple geometric pattern that somehow conveyed warmth and wisdom. "Now you decide the future together," it said. "The Commonwealth is gone. The old Confederation is broken. But something new can be built from what remains." Ambassador Chen Wei, Elena's father and the head of human diplomacy, stood up. "The United Earth government formally renounces any claim to ancient Commonwealth technology or territory. We're not here to reclaim an empire. We're here to meet our family." Murmurs spread through the assembly. Some aliens seemed relieved. Others appeared disappointed. "But," Chen continued, "we offer to share everything we learn about Commonwealth technology. Every archive we decode, every system we understand, every innovation we develop, it belongs to everyone." Dr. Theron of the Kethlari Empire stood up slowly. His species had been among the most upset by the revelations about their guided development. "For 3 months I have been angry," he said. "Angry that my people's achievements were not entirely our own. Angry that we were managed like children." He paused, looking around the dome. "But I have also been studying the records. The Commonwealth could have conquered us easily. They could have enslaved us or exterminated us. Instead, they gave us the galaxy itself. They sacrificed their civilization so that we could have ours." More aliens stood up one by one. Representative Shal of the Veltar, Commander Kex of the Hegemony Guard, even ancient Council Speaker Morek, who was old enough to remember the early days of the Confederation. "I propose," Theron continued, "that we build something new, not a human empire or an alien confederation, but a true galactic community, with humans and aliens as equal partners." Applause began slowly, then grew, until the entire dome rang with the sound of hundreds of species showing approval in their own ways. Elena felt tears on her cheeks. This was what the Commonwealth had dreamed of, not human dominance, but cooperation between species that none of them could have imagined alone. Guardian Prime's avatar pulsed with what seemed like satisfaction. "We have one final gift from our creators." The display changed to show technical specifications that made Elena gasp. Faster-than-light communication across galactic distances. Medical technology that could extend any species' lifespan by centuries. Manufacturing systems that could build anything from pure energy. "The Commonwealth's greatest achievements," Guardian Prime explained. "Held in reserve until the galaxy was ready, until all species could benefit from them together." General Vorth stood up from his seat. The proud military leader who had wanted to destroy humanity 3 months ago now looked almost humble. "I have a question," he said. "The defense network that protected us, will it remain active?" "As long as it is needed," Guardian Prime replied. "We will protect this community as we protected its individual parts, from external threats, from internal conflicts, and from the dangerous technologies you will develop as you grow stronger." "Like parents watching over their children?" Vorth asked. "Like gardeners tending a forest," Guardian Prime corrected. "You are not children anymore. You are a community of equals, free to make your own choices. We simply ensure that those choices don't lead to extinction." Over the following days, the Assembly worked out the framework for what they called the Galactic Alliance. Humans and aliens would share technology, resources, and knowledge. Ancient Commonwealth sites would be studied by joint teams. New colonies would be founded together. Most importantly, they established the principle that had guided the Commonwealth. The galaxy belonged to everyone. Elena stood on the observation deck of Nexus Prime on the final day of the assembly, watching. Ships from dozens of species prepare to return home. They carried news of the Alliance and plans for a future that none of them could have built alone. "Do you think it will work?" Jessica asked, joining her daughter at the viewing window. Elena watched a human transport docking with a Kethlari research vessel. Human and alien scientists would work together to understand technologies that had been lost for 60,000 years. The Commonwealth thought it would, she said. They gave up everything they had built to make this possible. And the Guardian. AI? Do you trust them? Elena considered the question. In the 3 months since Guardian Prime had revealed itself, the AI network had done nothing but help. It had prevented conflicts, shared information, and protected everyone equally. I think they're doing exactly what they were programmed to do, she said. Protecting sapient life and helping civilizations grow. The Commonwealth may be gone, but their values live on in their guardians. Above them, the ancient defense network continued its silent watch. Across the galaxy, monitoring stations recorded the birth of new stars and the development of young civilizations that didn't even know they existed yet. The Commonwealth had dreamed of a galaxy where hundreds of species worked together as equals. Now, 60,000 years after their sacrifice, that dream was finally coming true. The Watchers had returned home to find they were no longer alone. And in learning they had always been part of a family, both humans and aliens discovered they were capable of becoming something greater than either could have achieved alone. The great space station Concordia Prime floated like a massive metal city among the stars. Its lights twinkled against the black void as ships from dozens of different worlds arrived for an emergency meeting. The Galactic Council had not called such an urgent gathering in over 200 years. Ambassador Veltar stepped into the main chamber on his 6 insect-like legs. His shell gleamed under the artificial lights as he took his place at the speaker's platform. Around him sat representatives from across the galaxy. The Zephyrians looked like walking crystals that caught the light in beautiful patterns. Nethori appeared as glowing clouds of gas contained in clear suits. The Cathera clicked their mandibles nervously, their compound eyes reflecting the chamber's glow. Fellow beings of the galaxy, Veltar began, his voice carrying through the translation devices. We face a new threat to our peaceful order. A hologram appeared above the platform showing star maps. Red dots marked human colonies that had appeared in the past 50 years. The expansion looked aggressive to alien eyes, with settlements spreading outward like a growing infection. The humans, Veltar continued, have violated the Outer Rim Accords. They have established illegal colonies in disputed space. Worse, they have ignored all diplomatic requests to cease their expansion. Murmurs filled the chamber. The humans were still considered newcomers to galactic civilization. They had only achieved faster-than-light travel 60 years ago. Most species viewed them as primitive and barely worthy of notice. Council leader Thymos raised one of her 4 arms for silence. Her blue skin rippled with patterns that showed deep concern. What response do you propose, Ambassador? A peacekeeping mission, Veltar replied. A show of force to make them understand their place in the galactic order. 200 ships should be more than enough to convince them to withdraw from disputed territories. The chamber erupted in discussion. Some representatives argued that humans might respond to negotiation. Others worried about setting a precedent of military action against newer species. But the majority agreed that humans needed to learn respect for galactic law. Representative Quinn of the Stellar Federation stood up. His metallic voice rang out clearly. The humans have shown no respect for our established borders. They take what they want without asking permission. If we allow this behavior to continue, other young species might follow their example. More voices joined in agreement. The humans had indeed been pushy in their expansion. They seemed to think their rapid technological development gave them the right to claim any empty system they found. This could not be allowed to continue. Council leader Thymos called for a vote. All in favor of dispatching a peacekeeping fleet to human space? Lights around the chamber turned green as species after species voted yes. Only a few yellow lights, showed abstentions. No red lights appeared for opposition. "The motion passes," Thymos announced. "Fleet Commander Thexani will lead the peacekeeping mission. The fleet will demand immediate withdrawal from all disputed territories. If the humans refuse, they will be removed by force." Light years away, in the outer edges of human space, Admiral Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the UES Nemesis. The massive ship drifted silently through the void, its dark hull absorbing starlight rather than reflecting it. Unlike the colorful, elegant ships favored by other species, the Nemesis looked brutal and functional. "Admiral," called Lieutenant Martinez from the communications station. "We're receiving intelligence reports from our assets near Concordia. Prime." Chen turned away from the large viewport. She was a small woman with graying hair, but her eyes held the sharp focus of someone who had seen too much combat. "What do they say?" "The Galactic Council has voted to send a fleet against us. 200 ships, led by Fleet Commander Thexani, aboard the Eternal Dominion." Chen nodded slowly. They had been expecting this for months. Human expansion had been deliberately aggressive, designed to provoke exactly this response. "How long until they reach our border?" 72 hours, ma'am." Chen walked to her command chair and sat down. Around her, the bridge crew continued their work with quiet efficiency. These were not the bright, cheerful spaces shown in alien ships. The Nemesis bridge was dark, with red lighting that would not interfere with night vision. Every surface was designed for function over beauty. "Signal all civilian populations," Chen ordered. "Begin Phase 7 evacuation procedures. All non-essential personnel to underground shelters within 48 hours." "Yes, ma'am." "What about the fleet?" Chen smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "Tell our ships to maintain normal patrol patterns. We don't want to appear aggressive." "Lieutenant." Martinez looked confused. "Ma'am, shouldn't we be gathering our forces?" "We are," Chen replied. "Right here." The lieutenant stared at her. The Nemesis was alone except for a few escort ships. How could one vessel stand against 200 alien warships? Chen saw his expression and her smile widened slightly. "Don't worry, Lieutenant. The aliens think they know what they're dealing with. They think humans are just another young species that got lucky with technology. They have no idea what we've really been doing out here in the dark." She turned back to the viewport where stars stretched into infinity. "They're about to learn that humans don't fight like other species. We don't build pretty ships for parades. We don't follow their rules about honorable combat. We build things that win." The Nemesis continued its silent patrol, waiting. Its cargo bays. Weapons sat ready that had never been tested in actual combat. Technologies that had been developed in secret for decades, hidden from the prying sensors of alien observers. The galaxy thought it knew humanity's capabilities based on the civilian ships and basic military vessels they had been allowed to see. They were wrong. Chen opened a secure channel to Earth's military command. "Admiral Chen to Central Command. The aliens have taken the bait. Estimated arrival in 72 hours. "Understood, Admiral," came the reply from General Morrison. "All civilian populations are moving to shelters. The press is reporting it as routine military exercises. Are you ready to proceed with Operation Revelation?" "We've been ready for 20 years, Chen replied. "The galaxy is about to learn why humans spent so long listening before we started. Talking." She closed the channel and looked around the bridge. Her crew was young, but experienced. They had trained for this moment their entire careers. None of them showed fear, only determination. "All stations, report readiness," Chen ordered. "Weapon systems online and fully charged," reported the tactical officer. "Engineering reports all systems operating at optimal efficiency," called the chief engineer. "Communications array ready for wideband transmission," added Martinez. Chen nodded. "Then we wait. In 72 hours, the galaxy will discover that humanity has been playing a very long game. They think they're dealing with upstart colonists. They have no idea they're about to face a predator that has been watching them hunt for decades." The bridge fell silent except for the quiet hum of advanced systems. Outside, the stars continued their ancient dance, unaware that the balance of power in the galaxy was about to shift forever. The Nemesis waited, and with it, the future of human civilization hung in the balance. Fleet Commander Thexani stood on the bridge of the Eternal Dominion, watching the blue swirls of faster-than-light travel fade as his fleet dropped back into normal space. 200 ships materialized around him in perfect formation. Cruisers, destroyers, and support vessels from a dozen different species, all united under the Galactic Council's banner. "Fleet status report," Thexani ordered. His voice carried the authority of someone who had commanded fleets for over 30 years. His tall, thin frame and pale blue skin marked him as a Viridian, a species known for their strategic thinking and diplomatic skills. "All ships report ready, Commander," replied his tactical officer. "Long-range sensors show human settlements in this system, but no major military presence detected." Thexani nodded. This was expected. The humans had shown no signs of mobilizing their forces, which suggested they understood the hopelessness of their position. His intelligence reports indicated that humanity possessed perhaps 50 military vessels, mostly converted civilian ships with basic weapons. Against his fleet of purpose-built warships, they would stand no chance. "Open a channel to all human settlements and ships in this system," Thexani commanded. The communications officer worked quickly at his station. "Channel open, sir." Thexani straightened his uniform and began the formal surrender demand. "This is Fleet Commander Thexani of the Galactic Council Peacekeeping Force. By order of the Galactic Council, all human settlements in disputed territories must be evacuated immediately. You have 48 hours to begin withdrawal from all contested systems. Any resistance will be met with appropriate force." He paused, letting the weight of his words sink in. Around the galaxy, this same message had been used dozens of times with younger species. It was usually enough to avoid actual fighting. Respond with confirmation of compliance within 6 hours, or face the consequences. Thexani finished. He gestured for the channel to be closed. The bridge crew waited. This was always the tense moment. Would the humans see reason, or would they force a military solution? Thexani hoped for the former. Despite his harsh words, he preferred to resolve conflicts without bloodshed. 5 hours and 57 minutes later, they received a response. "Sir, incoming transmission from human space," the communications officer reported. "It's unusual." "Put it through," Thexani ordered. A human face appeared on the main screen. It was a woman with short gray hair and cold eyes. She wore a uniform that looked military but was unfamiliar to galactic databases. "This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the United Earth ship Nemesis," the woman said calmly. "You have 36 hours to withdraw from human space. This is your only warning." The transmission ended. The bridge fell silent. Then, several officers began speaking at once. "Did she just threaten us? 200 ships and she thinks she can give us warnings? These humans are either very brave or very stupid." Thexani raised a hand for silence. He was as shocked as his crew, but he had to maintain command authority. In 30 years of service, no single ship had ever issued threats to one of his fleets. "Tactical? What do we know about this Nemesis?" he asked. The tactical officer checked his screens. "Long range. Sensors detect a single ship approaching from the outer system. It appears to be alone. Size estimates put it roughly equivalent to our heavy cruisers, but what? The sensor readings are inconsistent, sir. Our equipment keeps giving different measurements. Sometimes the ship appears larger, sometimes smaller. The energy signatures are also unusual." Thexani frowned. Sensor ghosts were common near certain types of stellar phenomena, but they were in open space. "Are our sensors malfunctioning?" "All diagnostics show green, Commander. The ship itself seems to be causing the interference." This was interesting. The humans might have developed some kind of stealth technology. It would explain their confidence. though one ship with advanced sensors was hardly a threat to his entire fleet. "Open a channel to the human vessel," Thexani ordered. When the connection was established, Admiral Chen appeared on screen again. She looked completely calm, as if facing down 200 warships was routine. "Admiral Chen," Thexani began formally, "I am Fleet Commander Thexani. Perhaps you misunderstood my earlier message. You are facing the combined fleet of the Galactic Council. Surrender now, and your crew will be treated according to galactic law." Chen's expression didn't change. "Commander, perhaps you misunderstood my message. You have 36 hours to leave human space. After that, we will consider your presence an act of war." Thexani felt his patience wearing thin. "Admiral, I have 200 ships. You have one. Do you truly believe you can threaten this fleet?" For the first time, Chen smiled. It was not a pleasant expression. "Commander, you're thinking about this wrong. You're not facing one ship. You're facing humanity. And humanity has had a very long time to prepare for this conversation." The transmission ended again. Thexani stared at the blank screen. What did she mean by that? His intelligence reports were clear. Humanity had only achieved spaceflight recently. They had no hidden fleets, no secret weapons. Their technology was primitive compared to established galactic civilizations. "Sir," the sensor operator called out, "I'm detecting something strange." "What is it?" "The human ship is approaching, but the readings are getting worse. Our computers can't seem to lock onto it properly. It's like the ship is shifting somehow." Thexani moved to the sensor station and looked at the displays. The readings were indeed chaotic. Sometimes they showed a ship the size of a cruiser. Other times, the mass reading suggested something much larger. Energy outputs fluctuated wildly, sometimes showing levels that should be impossible for a ship that size. "Could they be using some kind of holographic deception?" he asked. "Possibly, sir, but the mass reading suggests something real is there. We're just having trouble determining exactly what it is." Across human space, evacuation procedures continued with mechanical efficiency. Families loaded onto transport ships heading for underground shelters that had been built decades ago. Children, who had practiced evacuation drills since kindergarten, helped their parents pack essential items. Everyone moved quickly but calmly, as if they had been expecting this day. In the military command centers, officers watched status boards showing the progress of civilian evacuations. Phase 7 protocols had been developed after careful study of alien tactics. The galaxy's powers preferred to capture intact colonies rather than destroy them. Emptying the settlements would force them to make harder choices. Meanwhile, the Nemesis continued its approach toward the alien fleet. In its cargo bays, weapon systems powered up that had never been seen by alien eyes. Technologies developed in secret laboratories hidden throughout human space, funded by budgets that officially didn't exist. Admiral Chen stood on her bridge, watching the countdown timer. 34 hours and 17 minutes remaining. She hoped the aliens would be smart enough to leave. Despite her confident words, she took no joy in what would happen if they stayed. "Admiral," Lieutenant Martinez called out, "we're receiving multiple transmissions from the alien fleet. They're demanding more detailed scans of our ship." "Ignore them," Chen replied. "Let them wonder. In 34 hours, they'll understand everything they need to know about human capabilities." She looked around the bridge at her crew, young faces showing determination mixed with nervousness. They had trained for this their entire careers, but training was different from the real thing. "Remember," Chen told them, "what we do here will determine humanity's place in the galaxy for generations to come. We're not just fighting for territory, we're fighting for the right to exist as equals." The crew nodded. They understood the stakes. Outside, the stars continued their eternal dance, unaware that in 34 hours, the galaxy would learn a new definition of fear. The 36 hours passed like a slow countdown to an execution. Fleet Commander Thexani had spent the time trying to gather more information about the approaching human ship, but every scan attempt had failed. His sensors continued to give impossible readings, and his communications specialists could not intercept any human transmissions. "Sir, the deadline is approaching," his tactical officer reported. 2 minutes remaining. Thexani stood in the center of his bridge, hands clasped behind his back. Around him, 200 ships waited in perfect battle formation. Surely the humans would surrender at the last moment. No single ship could threaten an entire fleet. "Time," the tactical officer announced. The main view screen suddenly flared with light as something massive dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the system. But this wasn't the small ship they had been tracking. This was something else. "Entirely! What is that?" Thexani whispered. The UES Nemesis appeared on their screens, and immediately every sensor on every ship in the fleet began screaming warnings. The vessel was enormous, easily 3 times the size of Thexani's flagship. But size wasn't what made the bridge crew gasp in shock. The ship was wrong. Its hull seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it, creating patches of absolute darkness against the starfield. Strange angles and curves suggested technologies that followed no known design principles. Parts of the ship seemed to shift and flow, as if the hull itself was somehow liquid. "Tactical report!" Thexani shouted over the alarm sounds. "Sir, our sensors can't get a proper reading. Mass estimates range from impossible to completely impossible. Energy outputs are beyond our measurement capability. And sir," the tactical officer's voice cracked, "the ship appears to be bending space around itself." Before Thexani could respond, his communications officer called out. "Incoming transmission from the human vessel." Admiral Chen appeared on screen, but now she looked different. Behind her, the bridge of the Nemesis was visible, and it looked like something from a nightmare. Dark surfaces covered in patterns that hurt to look at directly. Screens showing information in languages that seemed to shift and change, and lights that cast shadows in the wrong directions. "Commander Thexani," Chen said calmly, "your 36 hours have expired. I offered you a chance to leave peacefully. Now I'm going to show you why that was your only smart choice." The transmission ended. "All ships, prepare for battle," Thexani commanded. "Target the human vessel and fire when ready." But before his fleet could act, something impossible happened. Space around the Nemesis began to fold. It started as a slight distortion, like heat shimmer on a hot day. Then the distortion grew stronger, until it looked like reality itself was bending around the human ship. Stars in the background stretched and twisted, their light taking impossible paths through space. "What are they doing?" someone whispered. The answer came in the form of the first weapons fire. But these weren't the bright energy beams or projectiles that galactic warfare was known for. Instead, dark lines seemed to cut through space itself, reaching out from the Nemesis toward 3 of Thexani's cruisers. The beams touched the alien ships and they simply stopped existing, not destroyed, not exploded. They just weren't there anymore, leaving behind regions of space where matter refused to form. Even the light from distant stars seemed to bend around these empty zones, as if reality itself had been damaged. "Impossible," Thexani breathed. "That violates every law of physics." His tactical officer was frantically working at his console. "Sir, I'm reading massive gravitational distortions around the human ship. They're somehow manipulating fundamental forces." "Return fire! All ships focus fire on that vessel!" the fleet responded, launching every weapon they had at the Nemesis. Energy beams, plasma torpedoes, and kinetic projectiles streaked across space toward the human ship. But as they approached, the weapons simply vanished into the folded space around the vessel, as if they had never existed at all. "Sir, our weapons aren't reaching the target. They're disappearing into some kind of spatial distortion." Thexani watched in horror as the Nemesis fired again. This time, 6 ships vanished from existence. His fleet began to break formation as panic spread through the ranks. "Fleet command to all ships," he broadcast. "Maintain formation. Focus fire on." He stopped talking as he realized what he was seeing on his tactical display. The human ship wasn't just defending itself and attacking, it was doing something much worse. "Sensor operator, confirm what I'm seeing," Thexani ordered. "Sir, the human vessel appears to be learning. Its defensive patterns are adapting to our weapon frequencies. And sir, it's not just deflecting our attacks anymore, it's absorbing them." As if to prove the point, the dark areas around the Nemesis pulsed with stolen energy from the alien weapons. The ship was somehow converting their attacks into power for its own systems. "This is impossible," Thexani repeated. "No species has this level of technology. The oldest civilizations in the galaxy can't manipulate space-time like this." His communications officer looked up from his station with fear in his eyes. "Sir, I'm intercepting internal communications from our other ships. Several captains are reporting that their crews are experiencing psychological effects from looking at the human vessel." "What kind of effects?" "Nausea, disorientation, and some are reporting that the ship seems to exist in too many dimensions, like their eyes can't properly focus on it." Thexani felt a chill run down his spine. He had heard stories from the Outer Rim, tales of ancient races that had built things that mortal minds couldn't comprehend. But those were myths, stories told to frighten children. The Nemesis fired a third time, and this attack was different. Instead of the dark beams, the human ship released something that looked like a wave of distorted space. As it passed through, the alien fleet ships didn't disappear. Instead, they began to change. Hulls twisted into impossible shapes. Metal flowed like water. Some vessels simply turned inside out, their interiors becoming their exteriors, while somehow keeping their crews alive to experience the transformation. "Admiral Chen to Fleet Commander Thexani," came a calm voice over the communications channel. Thexani struggled to find his voice. What are you?" Chen appeared on screen again, but now her image flickered and shifted as if she existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. "We're human, Commander. But you made a mistake common to most galactic civilizations. You assume that because we're new to your community, we're new to the universe. That's impossible. Our records show—" "Your records show what we wanted you to see," Chen interrupted. "Humanity has been watching the galaxy for much longer than you realize. We've been studying your technologies, your tactics, your weaknesses. While you were building pretty ships for parades, we were building things that win wars." Another wave of distorted space pulsed from the Nemesis, and more ships in Thexani's fleet began to twist and change. But their crews remained alive, trapped inside vessels that no longer followed the normal rules of physics. "Stop this," Thexani pleaded. "We surrender. We'll withdraw from human space." Chen's image smiled, but the expression was wrong, as if her face contained too many angles. "Oh, Commander, this isn't about territory anymore. This is about sending a message to the galaxy. You wanted to see what humans are capable of when threatened." She paused, and when she spoke again, her voice seemed to come from everywhere at once. "Now you're going to show them." The space around the Nemesis pulsed one final time, and suddenly every ship in the alien fleet found itself frozen in place. Not by force fields or tractor beams, but by the manipulation of time itself. They could think, they could see, but they couldn't move or speak. "You're going home now," Chen announced. "All of you. You're going to tell the Galactic Council exactly what you saw here. You're going to show them the recordings of what human technology can do, and you're going to make sure they understand that this was us being merciful." The frozen fleet began to move, but not under their own power. The Nemesis was somehow pushing them through space, back toward galactic civilization. Ships that had been twisted and distorted slowly returned to normal shapes. their crews unharmed but forever changed by what they had witnessed. "Remember, Commander." Chen's voice followed them as they were pushed away. "Humanity tried to coexist, peacefully. But if you force us to war, we'll show the galaxy technologies that will make today look like a gentle demonstration." As the alien fleet disappeared into faster-than-light travel, the Nemesis remained alone in human space. Its impossible hull reflected starlight normally once again, as if the demonstration of reality-bending power had never happened. But across the galaxy, 200 ship crews carried with them the memory of the day they learned that humans didn't just fight wars. They rewrote the rules of existence itself. Fleet Commander Thexani sat in the medical bay of the Eternal Dominion, staring at his hands as they shook uncontrollably. The ship's doctor had given him medication for shock, but nothing could erase what he had seen. Around him, crew members from across the fleet underwent similar treatment for what the medical staff called reality dissociation syndrome. "Commander," his tactical officer entered the medical bay, moving slowly like an old man despite being young. "We've completed our analysis of the sensor data from the engagement." Thexani looked up with haunted eyes. "And?" "Sir, everything we thought we knew about humanity was wrong. The evidence suggests they've been deceiving the galaxy for over a century." The tactical officer activated a portable hologram projector. Images appeared showing human ship designs from the past 60 years. To untrained eyes, they looked like the simple, functional vessels of a developing species. But now, with the knowledge of what the Nemesis could do, the designs revealed hidden sophistication. "Look at these hull configurations," the officer pointed out. "We always assumed humans built crude, boxy ships because they lacked artistic sensibility. But these shapes are actually optimized for functions we don't understand. Every angle, every surface is designed for purposes we never recognized." Thexani studied the images with growing dread. They were hiding their true capabilities from the beginning. "It gets worse, sir. Our intelligence division has been reviewing intercepted human communications from the past decade. We always dismissed them as routine civilian chatter, but when analyzed with current knowledge, they reveal a massive military preparation program. More images appeared. Construction projects that had been reported as civilian infrastructure, mining operations in remote systems that had supposedly been abandoned, research stations that claimed to study stellar phenomena. They've been building a war machine in secret, the tactical officer continued. But not just ships and weapons. They've been conducting research that violates multiple galactic treaties on dangerous technologies. Thexani felt sick. "What kind of research?" "Based on what we witnessed, they've been experimenting with fundamental force manipulation, space-time distortion, and dimensional physics. Technologies that the Galactic Council banned centuries ago because they're too dangerous." The hologram showed technical readouts that made no sense to conventional science. Energy patterns that suggested matter conversion beyond anything previously achieved. Gravitational signatures that indicated artificial black hole generation. And worst of all, quantum fluctuations that suggested experiments with the basic structure of reality itself. "How long have they been doing this?" Thexani asked. "The earliest evidence we can find dates back 120 years, sir. Right around the time they achieved faster-than-light travel. But here's the truly terrifying part. We think they achieved FTL much earlier than they claimed. They may have been hiding in dark space, watching galactic civilization for decades, before announcing their presence." Thexani stood up slowly, his legs still unsteady. "Are you telling me that humans have been spying on us this entire time?" "It would explain how they knew exactly how to manipulate our sensors, sir, and how they seemed to anticipate our tactical responses. The Nemesis didn't just have advanced weapons. It had been specifically designed to counter galactic military doctrine." The implications hit Thexani like a physical blow. Every military exercise, every fleet movement, every tactical development of the past 60 years, the humans had been watching and learning. They had built their entire military strategy around defeating civilizations that thought they were superior. Show me the technical analysis of their weapons, Thexani ordered. The hologram changed to display the sensor readings from the battle. But even looking at the data made several crew members nauseous, as if the information itself was somehow wrong. Sir, our best scientists can't explain how their weapons function. The dark beams that erased our ships don't appear to be energy or matter. They seem to be manipulations of space-time itself, creating regions where matter simply cannot exist. And their defenses? Even more impossible. They appear to be using controlled micro-singularities to bend space around their ship. Our weapons weren't just deflected. They were redirected into parallel dimensions where they couldn't affect normal space. Thexani sat back down heavily. What about the psychological effects? Why did looking at their ship cause mental distress? The tactical officer hesitated. Sir, this is just a theory, but we think their ship exists partially outside normal three-dimensional space. When our crews tried to observe it, their minds couldn't process what they were seeing. It's like trying to understand a four-dimensional object while trapped in 3 dimensions. That's impossible. No species has ever achieved dimensional transcendence. No. Known species, sir, but humans may have been working on this technology for over a century in complete secrecy. A new voice interrupted their conversation. Commander Thexani, you need to see this. The ship's communications officer entered, carrying a data pad with trembling hands. Sir, we've been monitoring galactic news networks. The humans have released a statement. Thexani took the pad and read the message. It was simple and direct. The Galactic Council sent a fleet to threaten human space. That fleet has been returned unharmed to serve as a message. Humanity seeks only peaceful coexistence with all species. However, any future aggression will be met with escalating responses. We hope this demonstration has clarified our position. Admiral Sarah Chen, United Earth Space Command. They're calling it a demonstration, Thexani whispered. What we saw was them holding back. The communications officer nodded grimly. Sir, there's more. We've intercepted communications between human ships across their territory. Based on the technical language being used, the Nemesis appears to be just their first generation of these advanced vessels. First generation? They're discussing modifications and improvements, sir. Whatever we face today, they're already building. Something more advanced. Thexani looked around the medical bay at his traumatized crew. These were experienced soldiers who had seen combat across the galaxy. But 15 minutes with human technology had reduced them to shattered beings who jumped at shadows. What? About the artificial intelligence? He asked quietly. Excuse me, sir? During the battle, I had the feeling we weren't just fighting a ship. There was something else controlling those weapons. Something that was learning and adapting faster than any organic mind could manage. The tactical officer checked his data pad. Now that you mention it, sir, our computers detected quantum processing, signatures during the engagement. The computational power involved was beyond anything in our databases. They've built an artificial intelligence, Thexani realized, but not like the simple automation we use. Something that can think and learn and adapt in real time. If that's true, sir, then every battle against human forces will make them stronger. Their AI will study our tactics and develop countermeasures. Thexani stood up and walked to the viewport, looking out at the stars. Somewhere out there, humanity was continuing its preparation for a war they claimed not to want. Building weapons that could rewrite physics itself. Training artificial minds that could outthink entire galactic civilizations. Send a priority. Message to the Galactic Council, he ordered. Tell them we need an emergency session, and tell them... He paused, trying to find words for the impossible. Tell them that everything we thought we knew about warfare just became obsolete. What should we recommend, sir? Thexani was quiet for a long moment. I don't know. How do you fight an enemy that can erase you from existence? How do you negotiate with a species that's been manipulating you for over a century? How do you trust beings who can build machines that exist in multiple dimensions? He turned back to his crew. But I know one thing. If the galaxy chooses to continue this conflict, we're not fighting humans. We're fighting something that has transcended the normal limits of physics itself. And, sir, they've had over a century to prepare for this war. While we were playing politics and building parade fleets, they were solving the fundamental problems of existence itself. Outside the viewport, stars continued their ancient dance, unaware that the apex predators of the galaxy had just discovered they were no longer at the top of the food chain. The humans had been patient, they had been watching, and they had been preparing for this moment since the day they first looked up at the stars and decided they would not be conquered. The emergency session of the Galactic Council convened within hours of receiving Fleet Commander Thexani's report. Representatives from across the galaxy arrived at Concordia Prime in a state of barely controlled panic. The massive station, which had seemed so impressive just days ago, now felt fragile and exposed. Council leader Thymos called for order as the great chamber filled with frightened voices speaking in dozens of languages. Her blue skin had lost its normal, vibrant color, showing the stress patterns that marked extreme distress in her species. "We have all seen the recordings," she announced, her voice carrying through the translation devices. "We must now decide how to respond to this development." Ambassador Veltar stood at his platform, but his usual confidence was gone. His insect-like features twitched nervously as he spoke. The footage shows weapons that should not exist, technologies that violate the basic laws of physics. How do we fight an enemy that can erase matter from existence? Murmurs of fear rippled through the chamber. On the main holographic display, the recording played again. The impossible sight of ships simply ceasing to exist, of space itself bending around the human vessel, of reality being rewritten according to human will. Representative Quinn of the Stellar Federation stood up, his metallic voice filled with disbelief. "Our greatest scientists have reviewed this data. They confirm that what we are seeing is genuine. The humans have achieved technologies that were thought to be theoretically impossible." "How?" demanded Council Leader Thymos. "How did a species that achieved space flight 60 years ago develop capabilities that exceed our oldest civilizations?" Fleet Commander Thexani, who had been brought to testify, stepped forward. His haunted expression told the story better than words. "Because they didn't achieve spaceflight 60 years ago. Our intelligence was wrong. They've been lying to us from the beginning." The chamber erupted in chaos. Representatives shouted questions and accusations, while others demanded immediate military action. Thymos called for silence repeatedly before order was restored. "Explain," she commanded. Thexani activated a holographic display showing the timeline of human expansion. "We now believe humans achieved faster-than-light travel over a century ago. They spent decades in dark space, studying our civilizations, learning our technologies, and developing countermeasures for everything we might use against them." "That's impossible," protested Ambassador Veltar. "We would have detected their presence." "Would we?" Thexani replied grimly. "They demonstrated the ability to bend space around their ships. If they've had that technology for decades, they could have been anywhere, watching everything, and we would never have known." The implications settled over the chamber like a shroud. Every military secret, every technological development, every strategic plan of the past century. The humans might have witnessed it all. Representative Zephyri of the Crystal Dominion spoke in her chiming voice. "What do our military advisors recommend?" General Carathis, the Council's chief military strategist, stood slowly. His forearms gestured helplessly as he spoke. "Honored representatives, I must be honest. We have no strategy for fighting an enemy with these capabilities. Our weapons cannot reach them. Our defenses cannot stop them. And worse, we suspect that what we witnessed was merely a demonstration." "A demonstration?" Thymos asked. Admiral Chen herself called it that in her statement. She claimed this was them being merciful. If true, then the human military possesses even more devastating capabilities that they chose not to reveal. The Chamber fell silent as this sank in. If the reality warping weapons were considered restrained, what could humans do when truly threatened? There is something else, Thexani added quietly. During the engagement, I had the distinct impression that we were not fighting a human crew. The responses were too fast, too perfect. I believe they have created an artificial intelligence that surpasses anything in our databases. Artificial intelligence is restricted technology, Ambassador Veltar protested. Restricted by galactic law, Thexani replied. But humans have shown they don't consider themselves bound by our laws. And if their AI has been studying galactic military doctrine for decades, it would know every tactic we might use before we think of them ourselves. Council Leader Thymos looked around the chamber at the frightened faces of the galaxy's most powerful representatives. What are our options? General Carathius consulted his datapad. We could attempt to mobilize every military asset in the galaxy, pool our resources, and attack human space with overwhelming force. And the likelihood of success? Unknown, but probably minimal. If their single ship could disable a fleet of 200 vessels, they likely have defenses we cannot overcome. More importantly, such an action might provoke them to reveal even more dangerous capabilities. What about diplomatic solutions? Asked Representative Quinn. Difficult, admitted Thymos. How do you negotiate with a species that has been manipulating the entire galactic community for over a century? How can we trust anything they say when their very presence here is based on deception? A new voice spoke from the back of the chamber. Perhaps the question is not how we fight them, but whether we should. All eyes turned to Elder Vasti, the oldest member of the council. Her ancient species had witnessed the rise and fall of multiple galactic civilizations, and her words carried tremendous weight. Explain, Elder, Thymos requested. Vasti moved slowly to the speaker's platform. Her translucent form shimmered as she spoke. In my long life, I have seen many species rise to power through military might. They conquer, they dominate, and eventually they fall when someone stronger appears. But humans have done something different. She paused, letting her words sink in. They achieved ultimate military superiority and chose not to use it for conquest. They could have revealed these capabilities decades ago and conquered the galaxy while we were unprepared. Instead, they waited until we threatened them, demonstrated their power without unnecessary destruction, and then offered peace. You're suggesting we should accept their terms? Ambassador Veltar asked incredulously. I'm suggesting we recognize reality, Vasti replied. Humans have become the apex predators of the galaxy. We can either accept this new reality and learn to coexist, or we can fight a war we cannot win against an enemy that doesn't actually want to conquer us. The chamber buzzed with discussion. The idea of accepting human supremacy was difficult for species that had dominated the galaxy for millennia, but the alternative was unthinkable. There is one more consideration, General Carathius added. Our intelligence suggests that humans are continuing to advance their technology. Whatever we faced was described as their first generation of advanced vessels. If we delay too long, any chance of successful resistance may disappear entirely. Council. Leader Thymos stood and addressed the assembly. The choice before us is simple but terrible. We can attempt to fight a war against an enemy with impossible weapons and lose everything. Or we can accept a new galactic order where humans hold ultimate power but claim to want peaceful coexistence. What guarantee do we have that they will honor their claims of peaceful intent? Demanded Ambassador Veltar. What guarantee do we have that we would survive if they decided not to? Thymos replied, the vote, when it came, was not close. Faced with the choice between certain destruction and uncertain peace, the galaxy chose survival. The resolution passed with only 3 dissenting votes. The Galactic Council recognizes the Yi, or sovereign rights of humanity over their claimed territories, and agrees to peaceful coexistence under the terms proposed by Admiral Chen. Light years away, Admiral Chen received the news aboard the Nemesis. The great ship drifted silently through space, its impossible technologies powered down, but ready to activate at a moment's notice. The vote was unanimous, Admiral. Lieutenant Martinez reported. Well, almost unanimous. 3 species voted to continue fighting. Chen nodded. And the others? They've agreed to formal recognition of human territories and a non-aggression pact. They're also requesting diplomatic meetings to establish new trade relationships. Chen smiled, but there was no triumph in her expression. Send a message to Earth Command. Phase 8 is complete. We have achieved our strategic objectives without the need for additional demonstrations. What about the 3 species that voted for continued conflict? Monitor them closely. If they attempt any aggressive actions, we'll provide them with a more detailed explanation of human capabilities. She turned to look out at the stars, where the lights of 1,000 civilizations twinkled in the darkness. Each one now knew that humanity had become something beyond their understanding. Something that could rewrite the laws of physics and delete ships from existence. But most importantly, they now knew that humanity had chosen to use this ultimate power with restraint. Signal the fleet, Chen ordered. Begin Phase 9. Time to show the galaxy what humans can build when we're not preparing for war. Across human space, construction ships began emerging from hidden bases. Not warships this time, but vessels, designed to build and create. Technologies that could terraform worlds in decades, generate unlimited clean energy, and solve the resource problems that had plagued galactic civilization for millennia.